Well, hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a who dat? Are you a who dat fan? If you're a who dat fan, subscribe to this channel. I love the Saints as much as you do. Put me in your subscriptions. It'll be just like passing a friend or a coworker. You want to talk about the Saints? You ask me, hey Joe, what you think about them Saints? That's what these videos are for. And then you tell me what you think in the comments. I respond to my comments. Let's keep it in the Who Dat family, Sha. And let's do us a 2026 mock draft for our beloved Saints. This will be the first mock draft that I've posted post free agency. And that's the first wave of free agency. We've made some big signings. And now let's do a draft and see what we come up with. Yeah, the first wave of free agency, in my opinion, is when it all opens up in that first couple of weeks is pretty intense, and then after that there's a big lull. We got a month to go plus before the NFL draft. I figure anybody we sign in free agency between now and the draft will probably be fillers, filling out the depth chart with some lower cost players. There may be one or two moves that are made that are mid-range or perhaps another high signing. I mean, I'm thinking Cam Jordan, maybe 6 million, 7 million, something like that. You might get a piece in the defensive back room, and you'll probably get some fillers. Hopefully, we go and get Terrell Burgess or somebody that can play the nickel, and then hopefully get some depth on the offensive line. A lot of different things we could address. But we'll go ahead and take a stab at the draft right now. I think the Saints are in a good position. Anything they pick up will be beneficial for the team. I did a video. The last video I did was talking about positions of need, and I tried to give a justification for grabbing every position. And I think it works that way. I think the Saints are in a good spot. Just get the best player available, right? Well, this is a weak draft. Here's our draft picks. Is this the right time to trade down in a draft that's not supposed to be so good? Maybe some teams would like to collect picks in the next year's draft because that draft's supposed to be better. You can keep doing that. Remember, before this year, this was supposed to be before this the draft coming up. It was supposed to be a great quarterback draft. That's what everyone was saying after the draft last year. Next year will be a much better quarterback draft, and here we are again with barely one person at the quarterback position getting drafted in the first round, and everybody hoping you can find a diamond in the rough. We found one in Tyler Shuck. But yeah, you just never know from year to year. So, I'm looking at this draft. I think there's some good players. I think there's some good positions of depth. And I think if you do decide to trade down and picking up extra pieces, even in this draft that some people consider weak, still think you improve the middle class of our football team. So am I going to trade down or not? We have one first round pick. We have a second round pick. We have one third round pick. We have two very late fourth round picks, two fifth round picks, and a sixth round pick. If we stick and pick, we get 8 players. That would be pretty good for this team. And I'm going to do several drafts, mock drafts between now and the actual draft, where I'm going to pick just the 8 players. And I'll probably do a video where I'm comparing several of those, just picking 8 players and do it, addressing positions at different times just to see what different drafts could look like. And we'll compare and contrast, and maybe you guys can vote on which one's the best. But this is one I decided to document last night. I did the mock last night. I created all of these prompts for it, and I'm not really thrilled about this draft, but that's the thing about the draft. Things happen and then you have to adjust on the fly. I've done hundreds of these. And sometimes you think you know, and then something happens and you don't know. So let's see what happens with our beloved Saints. So our first pick comes up, pick 8. And I'm going to show you my big board. This is my top 12 for this draft class right now. So you can arrange it any way you want, but these are 12 players that I would not mind getting with pick 8. Now, some of them on this graphic may be a reach for you guys. The two offensive linemen come to mind. I think that Olaiva Vega Ioane is going to be a starting caliber guard in this league. I think if we picked him with pick 8 and he takes Cesar Ruiz's place, then yeah, we might have one of the best offensive lines in the league. That's how good that dude is to me. And replacing Cesar Ruiz is it can't be a bad thing. If I think if you get just a mid-level player, but so I told myself that when pick 8 comes up, if at least 4 or 5 of these guys are still there, then I'll entertain trading down. When the 8th pick came up for the Saints, there were 4 players left on this list. 1, 2, 3, 5 players left on this list. There were 5 players left on this list. The top 2, Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs, were still on the board. We still had Cornell Tate. We still had Mansour Delane. And we actually had Ioane still there. Maybe Mawanoa was still there too. It might have been 6 of these players were still there. So, of course, my top 2 are sitting there, Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs. And I know a lot of you would just say, grab one of them and be happy. And I would. But I get a trade offer from the Rams, and they're throwing in their second round pick, albeit a very late second round pick. They're offering a second round pick, and they're going to throw in a fourth round pick in next year's draft. So if I'm on the clock and I get this call from the Rams, I'm probably spending 4 or 5 minutes thinking about it. And yeah, like I said, if you have conviction, if Kellen Moore really wants Jeremiah Love, he grabs him right there, no questions asked. If Brandon Staley really wants Caleb Downs, we grab him there, no questions asked. I think that this draft is weak at the top, and most of the meat is in the second and third round, going into the beginning of the fourth round. So if I can collect picks in the second round, third round, or fourth round, and I can get an extra player, especially one in the top 100, then yeah, I'm going to entertain that. And with all of these options still on the board, I decide to make the trade. This is how it goes down. I give the Rams my 8th overall pick. I get their number 13. I get their second round pick, pick 61, and I get their fourth round pick in 2027. Okay, so we pick up an extra pick for next year, and we have us an extra pick in the second round. It's a late second rounder, but yeah, there's some really good options in the second and third round. So I'm not fretting about that at all. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm under the impression the Rams are trading up to get one of the best cornerbacks, either Jermod McCoy or Mansour Delane. But yeah, the Rams traded up to number 8 and grabbed Caleb Downs. Oops. Well, this is the way I'm gonna ride with it now. If one of these guys, the 6, and I like getting 13 by the Rams. Pick 14 is Baltimore, and they probably have their eyes set on the guard. I'd be willing to take the guard and be extremely happy. So I'm glad I didn't go have to go any further than 14 or 15. You know, if I would have traded down to 16 or 17, something like that, then maybe I'd be fretting. But the tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, would still be there. So I make the move. I'm at 13 now. And when the pick 13 comes up, if there's one more guy that's on that list of mine still there, I'm going to take him. And with pick 13, yeah, there is a guy that's still there. My number one guy with pick 13 in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, unlikely as it may seem, the New Orleans Saints select running back Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Yep, everybody passed on him. The Chiefs decided they didn't want him. Tennessee didn't want him. He was still on the board for me at 8. Yeah, nobody wanted Love. He makes it to 13, and I grab him. It was really a choice between Love or the guard, and and I no, I think that's the only two left that was on the board, on my big board. I think all the receivers were gone at that point. So I went ahead and grabbed running back Love. 6 foot, 202 pounds. Love is going to be our future back. And Travis Etienne Jr. is going to share time with him. And yeah, you wanted to improve the run game? We did it. All right. Now, we get 2 picks in the second round. Pick 42 comes up for the Saints. I have my choice of a couple of receivers. Chris Bell is still there at wide receiver. And Omar Cooper's gone, but Elijah Surratt's still there. I look down the board, and there's still a few wide receivers that I'd be excited to take in the third round. Malachi Fields is there, and there's a few wide receivers. I feel like the second round is kind of rich for some of the receivers, like Jeremy Bernard and Skylar Bell, maybe even Chris Bell. So, and I've got that late second round pick before our third round pick. So I feel like pretty confidently I can still get a wide receiver at 61 or 73. So I decide to get a really good player at 42 that's not a receiver. And this is the gamble I decide to take. My knowledge of this draft and how deep receiver is, I decide to make to take this chance and to make this move. With pick 42 in the second round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Christian Miller, defensive tackle, Georgia. Miller's still there, an exceptional player, an exciting player. 6'4". His weight fluctuates. I've seen some that say he's 305. I see some that say he's 321. Well, the NFL.com pretty much has the measurements after the combine, and that's as close as people want to get. And they've got Christian Miller at 6'4", 321. I'm going to go ahead and say he's a 6'4", 315. We're just going to find out where he really exists. Uh, if he's upwards of 320, then yeah, he can play nose tackle. But I think his play weight's going to be more like 315, 310. And he's going to be able to play the end as well as defensive tackle. And I love getting a guy in Christian Miller that can come in and make Brian Bresee an afterthought. Or Nathan Shepard if we move on from him. If Brian Bresee shows a semblance of getting better in this defense, worthy of another contract. God, I don't want to spend a lot of money on that guy. But I like getting Christian Miller here. That's going to be a staple on our defensive line, regardless of what happens with Brian Bresee or whether Vernon Broughton's good or whether Nathan Shepard can still play. So I'm happy with that. Excited about that. There were some edge rushers there that I was interested in as well as receiver. But like I said, edge rusher and receiver are the deepest position groups in this draft. So I take my shot with Miller. I love improving the defensive line. That's something nobody really talks about, and it's something that's really important to me. And if one of those first three or four picks in the third or fourth round, if any of those picks are defensive linemen, I'm going to be excited. So our second round pick comes up because we traded down. Pick 61, and I am super excited because I'm a little worried about receiver, but I'm not passing this edge rusher. We picked 61 in the second round of the 2026 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher out of Central Florida. Malachi Lawrence, 6'4", 253 pounds. This senior is an excellent pass rush specialist. Kind of guy you would get if you would have invested in Bailey early. This is the kind of guy that it promises to be a better pass rusher than Caden Ellis. And Ellis can stay at off-ball linebacker if we grab Malachi Lawrence. I think he's going to make a great edge. And now we've got two pieces on the defensive front, and yeah, we needed to address defense in the draft. We have addressed offense in the free agency. But man, wide receiver is still a position. So is nickelback. And when our third round pick comes up, pick 73 overall, I've missed out on the wide receivers. I mean, I was really hoping that either Elijah Surratt or Chris Bell would still be there in the third round, and they're not. Now, there's still a few receivers there that I could take, and I'm very tempted to. But I start looking at the board. There's a nickelback option that's there right now that I don't want to pass. And I'm thinking if I can package some picks and move up, and I can get something in the late third round or early fourth round, can get a receiver. And that's going to be my plan. I'm making phone calls to try to pick up an additional pick before I even make my pick at 73. And I get a team that's willing to wheel and deal. And because I get this deal done, I go ahead and make my third round pick. With pick 73 in the third round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select cornerback Traden Stukes out of Arizona. And I love this guy to play nickel for us. He's got the body that can handle nickel or safety or cornerback. He can play outside cornerback too. But he's going to be our nickel guy, 6'1", 190 pounds. Stukes is going to be perfect in that star role. He's a good tackler. He's got great speed and he's got decent size and he can flex. So you can put Stukes out there and you're not sure if he's nickel, safety, corner. I love it. This is a great move. And I'm able to bypass wide receiver here because wide receiver is a deep position in this class. I missed out on my main targets, but I'm able to make this move at nickelback in the third round because I get a trade partner with the Dallas Cowboys. I am going to move back up into the third round. I decide because I got an extra fourth round pick next year that I'm going to use that as a collateral to trade to make this move happen. So here's how the deal is going to go down. I'm going to get the Dallas Cowboys third round pick 92 overall. I'm going to give them my fourth round pick, my second fourth round pick this year, which is pick 136. So I'm moving up from 136 to 92. And what does it cost me? It costs me a fourth round pick next year and a fifth round pick next year. It's actually pretty cheap to move up that much in the draft. But the catcher is I had picked up an extra fourth round pick already earlier in the draft. So it's pretty much just taking what I've earned and using it to move back up. So I feel like I didn't really lose much with the fourth round pick because I just gained it. And yeah, this is this year's draft. We're focusing on this year. Maybe I wouldn't do it, but God, man, that's a huge leap to go from 136 to 92 and giving them just a fourth rounder and a fifth rounder. So I feel like the only thing I paid was a fifth round pick. It's the only thing I gave up that I originally had to start the day and or to start the draft. And I like to move, and it was necessary because there was only a couple of wide receivers left on the board. So I'm happy to be at 92, and I'm debating on the clock which one of these receivers I'm going to take. And I get a phone call from Seattle. They want to move up 4 spots, and they're willing to give up a fourth round pick. It'll be kind of like a a swap pick in the third and fourth round. And yeah, if I drop 4 more spots from 92 to 96, and I miss out on those 2 wide receivers, man, what did I move up for? Well, I go ahead and take the deal. I'm going to drop down 4 spots in the third round with Seattle from 92 to 96, but I'm going to move up in the fourth round from 132 to 118. So I drop down 4 spots in the third round, but I move up, was it 24 spots or 14 spots? 14 spots. So I drop down 4 spots in the third round, but I move up 14 spots in the fourth round. I hate having those late fourth round picks. I really do. I mean, part of me thinks the Saints are going to package both of them in reality just to get a top fourth round pick. But this way, I was able to move up with both of them. I took one of them and moved up to the third round, and now I'm taking this one and moving up to the middle of the fourth round. And I'll go ahead and do this once again, taking a chance. Is my receiver still going to be there at 96? These are our picks now. And when pick 96 comes up, it's going to be okay. With pick 96 in the third round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Chris Brazzell II, wide receiver, Tennessee. Great combine. 6'4", 198 pounds, redshirt junior. Brazzell's tall, Brazzell's fast. I wouldn't want to take a chance on him in the second round. Some people may. The third round is where I figure he would go, but he was still there late in the third round. The other option I entertained at this spot was also Skylar Bell. Bell got drafted between 92 and 96. But I went ahead and got Brazzell instead, and yeah, I'm excited about this. We're not done. We still have 4 picks left in the draft. And our next pick is pick 118 in the fourth round. And with that pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select defensive tackle Tim Keenan III out of Alabama. I go ahead and get another big body for the defensive line. We got a nice run stopper in Christian Miller. And I think Christian Miller can develop his pass rush. I think that's something that could definitely happen. He's a great talent. Tim Keenan III, I don't think he'll ever get a pass rush, but he's a big nose tackle, stops the run, he clogs up the middle of the defensive line. And I'm excited to get him. I like improving this defensive line. Tim Keenan may just be a replacement for Davin Godchaw, the future Davin Godchaw. Nose tackle. He'll just be out there on base formations and running downs. But with a mid-round fourth round pick, it makes sense to me. I was debating on taking an offensive lineman here. I was tempted to take a center. The best center on the board at the time on the site I was on was Brian Parker out of Duke, who played tackle. At the practices, he was featured at every position on the offensive line, and Parker played really well at center. So a lot of people have decided to project him as a center. Parker, is an offensive tackle in college, so if he has the ability to play tackle and, he can fit at center too or guard, he would be a really good pick to get. But I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna get the nose tackle Tim Keenan instead. We'll see how the rest of the draft falls. We have two fifth-round picks. With the first fifth-round pick 150 in the fifth round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select linebacker Keyshawn Elliott out of Arizona State. A lot of talented linebackers in this draft. Safety and linebacker are two deep position groups, along with wide receiver and edge rusher. And I figure at some point you could get yourself a pretty good linebacker. Well, at the top of the fifth round, Keyshawn Elliott's still here. I've got a fourth round grade on him. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab him with this fifth round pick. 6'2", 231 pounds. He's roughly the same size as Jacob Rodriguez. So you worry about, whether he's strong enough, but he's got some great tape. He's got some good speed. I think he'll fit pretty good. He may be a bit of a developmental player. We've got linebackers galore on this team right now, so hopefully Elliott will find a spot on the special teams unit, and he can compete with Ford. And yeah, if Elliott's got enough ability, hey, Stallbird was undrafted, so let's see what Elliott's got. With our second fifth round pick, there's another wide receiver there. I didn't get wide receiver in the first two rounds. I waited until the end of the third round to grab one in Chris Brazzell. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another receiver here. It's just too many options that are really good, that are interesting, that I'd like to see on this team. So we pick 172 in the fifth round of the 2026 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints select wide receiver Tyron Montgomery out of John Carroll University. He's 5'11", 190 pounds, small school, not sure what he's going to do. He blew everyone out of the water at John Carroll. And then when he went to the Senior Bowl practices, he was very effective against top-notch talent. So there's a chance that this guy is a really good football player. I just don't want to take a chance on a small school guy with an early pick. Montgomery, after the Senior Bowl practices, he could be a fourth rounder. We're going to get him here at the bottom of the fifth round with the fifth round pick from Seattle. So now we've got two wide receivers in this draft, and it makes me feel better. We didn't address it early, but now we've got two to add to the room. And with our last pick in this draft, pick 190 in the sixth round of the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Logan Jones, center out of Iowa. 6'3", 299 pounds. This senior is a very technically sound center, and I have a fourth round grade on him. So I was very tempted to take a center with any of these picks on day three. So for Logan Jones to still be here with our last pick, pretty exciting. So that was the draft. Let's pull up the big board and let's look at the damage. I trade down from 8 to 13. I pick up an extra second rounder, pick up a future fourth. I use that to trade with a future fifth, to move up from the late fourth round all the way to the third round with Dallas. And then I get another trade with Seattle trading down a few spots in the third round, but moving up even more in the fourth round with that other fourth round pick. So those were the moves I made, and I think we addressed a lot of positions here. Do we still get an elite talent, even though we traded out of the top 10. Yeah, we get Jeremiah Love, the best running back in the class. Will this happen? I don't know. It happened here. If Love wouldn't have been there, I would have taken Olaiva Vega Ioane at guard. And maybe people think that's crazy. Why would you trade down? It's your opportunity to get a great nickel cornerback to go ahead and get a great guard. Yeah, Ioane at right guard would make our offensive line one of the best in the league. I'm positive of it. So I had no problems trading down. And that's my to-go-to guy if I do if this team trades down. We're going to be Kellen Moore, fix the offensive line completely. Ioane's so good. He might be better than Edwards. David Edwards was a fifth round pick, and David Edwards is a great pro. And I'm not going to say a rookie coming out is going to be better than that guy right away. Edwards is a solid player. I think Ioane has the talent to develop into an even better player. So yeah, yeah. Would he improve over Cesar Ruiz? Yeah, definitely. He might be better than Edwards when it's all said and done. But anyway, we didn't have to because the love fell all the way to us at number 13. And you got a player like Jeremiah Love in this draft, especially if you trade down and pick up extra picks. Oh, I think it's a home run. So it might also be unbelievable, but it happened here. Then we had two second round picks. We get defensive tackle Christian Miller, who's going to take Brian Bressee's place, at least on early downs. And Nathan Shepard, Vernon Broughton, and now Christian Miller. I think Brian Bresee might be a trade candidate if this happens. And with our second round pick, we get a nice edge rusher in Malachi Lawrence. I don't know if he lasts that long. Lawrence would be an option with pick 42. And some fans may have wanted to take Lawrence over Miller. I was taking a chance because there's a couple of edge rushers I like, and Derek Moore. If Lawrence wouldn't have been there, I could have still gone Derek Moore. We could still, look and see who's there. Lawrence happened to be there, so Christian Miller definitely wouldn't have lasted till 61. I was shocked he was there at 42. So in the third round, we get the nickel cornerback we need. And yeah, there's a lot of players you can get that can fill that star role. Jalen Kilgore in the fourth round was another option. Bud Clark was still there when I drafted Chris Brazel. Bud Clark was still on the board at that point. So we get Chris Brazel. We also get Tyron Montgomery. So we get two wide receivers, a 6'4" guy, a 5'11" guy. Yeah, I think Brazel could work in this system with the way Shuck passes. I think Brazel could do some damage on this team. He's just got to hold on to the ball. Tyron Montgomery, he's a flash in the pan, but yeah, maybe he sticks. Maybe we can get him to learn some special teams too. Speaking of special teams, Keyshawn Elliott at linebacker. That might be his primary role to start, but you know, I really loved Danny Stutzman in last year's draft, and when we got him, I was excited. I figured he would be more than just a special teamer, and he was definitely a great player on the field as a linebacker, but he made an exceptional special teamer too. So maybe Elliott gives us something on the field as a linebacker early on. Maybe we can get excited about that guy too, and hopefully a special teamer. Tim Keenan the third at nose tackle. Well, it's just one of them things. I wanted to get offensive line or defensive line. If I pick up an extra pick or two, and we end up with 9 picks here instead of 8. If I pick up an extra pick, I'm kind of focusing on fixing the trenches with those extra picks. Getting a couple of defensive linemen would make me so happy. And yeah, I couldn't help it. I did it. So now we got Christian Miller and Tim Keenan, and we have Malachi Lawrence on the edge. So excited about that. The last pick was an offensive lineman, Logan Jones. And yeah, I kind of think in this second wave of free agency before the draft, we're going to address center with a veteran or cheap guy, go and get Shane Lemieux or whatever again, and then try to have our bases covered. But that's one of the things. I like the center class this year, even though a lot of people don't. Logan Jones being there in the sixth round would be a great steal. So that's how this draft turned out. I take the chance. I trade down. I pass on Caleb Downs, but I end up getting Jeremiah Love anyway. We get an edge rusher, we get a wide receiver, a couple of them. We address the defensive line a couple of times, still hitting depth on the offensive line. And then, yeah, that all important nickelback. We get that along with some depth at linebacker. So there you go. That is this mock draft. I'll be doing plenty more of these. Like I said, in a future video, I'm going to present 3 or 4 straight up 8 player picks, and we're going to compare the drafts, and you guys can let me know which route you'd rather go. It's exciting times in the off season for the Saints. Let me know what your favorite pick is. Let me know what you would have done different based on how I've described this. I'm Joe. Subscribe to my channel so you can keep getting videos about the Saints. I have a ton of videos about player prospects in this draft, and that's what I do mostly in the off seasons. So subscribe. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?